Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of my podcast. Today's podcast is called Trust Yourself. And as usual, I will begin this podcast with a quote. Believe in yourself and have faith in your abilities. Without humble but reasonable confidence in your own powers, you cannot be successful or happy. And that's a quote by Vincent Peale. Trust yourself. There's a force within you that knows the right choice to make. Your gut. Now, there are certain known or unknown spiritual universal laws that we operate by that I feel society has kind of lost touch with. And one of those things, one of those principles, one of those aspects of life are your gut. Your gut somehow knows what the right choice is to make. It somehow knows which direction that you need to go in. And a lot of the times we might feel that feeling and we don't trust our gut because we might not have all the information, or we might not have people backing us up saying the right thing. We might not have the confidence in ourselves to go with our gut feeling. But somehow, some way, our gut knows the right way to go. And we need to get more in touch with that feeling. We need to get back to trusting our gut initially, because somehow our gut has a universal intelligence where it knows what we need to be doing and how we need to be carrying ourselves. And I feel like a lot of us, society wise, I have myself, and I'm getting back to it and trying to be a practitioner of going with my gut feeling. But I feel as a society that we've kind of stepped away, or that the gap between our gut feeling has been kind of widened or increased. So we need to get back to trusting our gut, because somehow this universe which is way more intelligent than we will ever be, knows the right way and the direction, our purpose, and how to accomplish our mission and our goals. Gut instinct or intuition is your immediate understanding of something. There's no need to think it over or get another opinion. You just know. Your intuition arises as a feeling within your body that only you experience. It's not something that somebody else can help you validate. It's not something that anyone outside of you can approve of, or can let you know that it's right. Some people might agree with your decision or your course of action, but ultimately when it comes down to your gut, it's something personal. It's something that you just know is correct. Like if you, like with your purpose in life, if you feel that your purpose in life is to do XYZ, whatever that may be, that's something that's just within you. Nobody can tell you your purpose. That's something that is uniquely specific to what you like, what you feel that you need to do while you have time on this earth to exist and to make other people's lives better. So a lot of that stuff is personal. It can't be sought outside of you. And we always have conversations about how, like, your internal environment dictates your external existence and the life that you live on the outside. And one of those factors of your internal environment is your gut. Because you might draw your purpose down. You might make a mission statement. You might create goals on the path of how to get there, and somehow, some way, your gut knows what steps you need to take to line up this way and to line up that way. Like when I was a little kid, I had, I'm not gonna say I was better than anybody or I was more knowledgeable, but just some things kind of clicked with me and some things didn't. Some things just didn't feel right, like in my gut. And that's the only way I know how to explain it. It wasn't that I was better than anybody, I was smarter than anybody, I was luckier than anybody. It was the fact that I just oftentimes went with my gut feeling. If my gut feeling said, don't do this, don't go with them, don't participate in that activity, most of the time, because I'm not perfect, but more often than not, I usually went with my gut feeling. And I feel that I avoided a lot of trouble, a lot of difficulties, and I avoided creating a lot of hurdles for myself where there didn't need to be none, because I went along with that gut feeling. And as I got older, and I started basing my decisions more in what others were saying. Like, you need all the information before you make a decision, or, you know, you can't just jump into something blindly. You need to have something behind you or another plan, the plan B. I started that gap between my gut feeling and taking action, or that trust confidence relationship. It kind of broadened, and because of that, I've been more hesitant in making decisions. I've been less confident in making decisions in the past, and that hadn't been me. That hadn't been the way that I had operated up until the point when that gap had widened. So trying to get back to that, a large part of establishing that confidence, that self-esteem, and being able to trust the decisions that you make is getting back to listening to your instincts, your gut feelings, if your intuitions, that stuff deep down inside of you that somehow knows that that's the right course of action, that internal compass that you have. Follow the feeling. Do what makes you happy. Not happy in the moment, but will bring you joy. We talked about happiness versus joy in another podcast, our earlier episode. Happiness is just temporary. Joy is something that exists, for a long period of time, and nobody can take away your joy. Happiness is fleeting. You can be happy in 1 minute, and then 5 minutes later, you can allow somebody to do something that will make you feel an emotion other than happiness. But joy is a feeling that no matter what's going around outside of me, internally I feel this feeling, and because of this feeling I feel joy. And that feeling that comes with joy, that gives you joy, is that feeling of confidence, that feeling of peace, that feeling of being grounded, that feeling of being present, not worrying about the future, not being, concerned about the past, just being present in this moment, focusing on your purpose, your mission, the goals that you have aligned so that you can get to where you need to be, so you can be that person that you need to be for your family and whoever else that you're trying to impact while you're on this earth and while you still have time. You don't need validation from others. It's your life. Trusting yourself and your intuitions is the ultimate act of confidence. Again, we talked about that earlier. You need to have confidence in yourself. If you don't have confidence in yourself, if you don't have self-esteem, you're not going to be able to function appropriately. If every time it comes to you making a decision, if every time you come to a crossroad, you're second guessing yourself, you're looking for information that may or may not be present, you're trying to make sense of it all in a situation where it's not necessarily going to make sense, it's going to choke you up. It's going to cause a choke point. A choke point in the military is a place where you're not able to maneuver, you're not able to exercise your strength to your full capability. So you don't want to put yourself in a choke point. You know what I'm saying? You need to identify that early on and remedy that before it becomes an issue. Because not all times in life are you going to be able to have all the information present. Not all times in life is everything going to be laid out for you, and you're going to be able to confidently make a choice and a decision. You're just going to have to do it. Like when I enlisted in the military, I didn't have all the information ahead of me. Like, I knew some things, like my MOS when I was going to boot camp, stuff like that. I didn't exactly know what was going to happen every day for 13 weeks. I didn't know what was going to happen after I got out of boot camp. I didn't know what was going to happen after I got out of my follow-on school. I knew some things along the way, and people gave me some information, but I didn't know, what was going to happen at all times. It was very much a journey of confidence. And, it was a good journey. I have no regrets about any aspect of my military service. It was fun. It was good training. I met great people, and I had a great experience. And it all came from that leap of faith that I took in 2010. And that leap of faith carried me through 2018. And it was a fun ride. It really was. So when we don't trust ourselves, when we don't have that confidence, when we don't listen to our gut feelings, we're really cheating ourselves, because we can't see into the future. We can meditate, we could dream, we can visualize, and we can create our futures with our mind, but ultimately we can't see into the future. And honestly, that's the good thing, because we make our own future. There is no future. There is no past and there is no future. The past already happened. We can't go back and interact with it. And the future has yet to exist. And the future is largely based on the choices that we make in the present. So by trusting ourselves, having confidence in ourselves, and making actions based on that trust and confidence that we have in ourselves, we then create the future that we want to have, that we want to experience, that the universe somehow knows is the projected course that we need to be on to be who we need to be and where we want to be in life, because of that divine intuition that we have within ourselves, that moral compass that guides us. The process of trusting your gut is not as simple as the phrase implies. Certain habits and circumstances can make it more difficult to be aware of that inner voice or feeling. Lucky for us, our intuition is so deeply instinctual that even if we've been out of touch with it for our entire lives, it's still there inside of us, waiting for us to summon its wisdom. That's something that I learned while doing research, while doing some self-development, is that in order to get back in touch with our intuition, with our gut feeling, we simply just have to start by trusting it all over again. There's no deep process. You don't need to chant or say a mantra or, do any of those crazy things. You need to, not that those things are crazy, but I'm just saying you don't need to do anything outside of yourself. All you need to do is to trust yourself, and how do you complete a journey of 1,000 miles? You take one step at a time. So, start with little things, like when you're driving your car and your gut might say, hey, don't take this way to work, take that way, and you avoid traffic. Just trust your gut feeling. Or if it tells you to don't go this way, go that way, and then you end up sitting in traffic, maybe you avoided something else that may have caused you harm. Or you could sit in the car and listen to a motivational video on YouTube or something that puts you in a different frame of mind, or puts you in a different place mentally. So then that helps you have a better day, or think in a way you haven't thought, and it gives you a great idea so that you can go act upon it, and it'll help you as an individual, or you achieve some type of goal that you may have. So it's not for us all to know. That's just how we were designed. Humans were designed to be present. We were designed to have memories, and we were designed to also be creative so that we can, dream and visualize and meditate on the future that we want to create. But we can't physically move to any of those places. We can mentally move to those places, which is powerful in and of itself, but we can't physically move to any of those places. I can't physically go back to 1990. I can't physically move forward to 2024. I have to be present and experience everything up until 2024, and I can no longer go back to 1990. So we need to be present. And in being present is just trusting who we are right now, trusting the decisions that we made up until this point, because up until this point you survived 100% of the worst days of your life, because at the moment in time you thought it was the worst days of your life. You've created this cookie jar where you can go back and you can look at all the things you survived, the decisions that you've made, and the choices that you've made that have gotten you to this point. Now, whether this point in your life is good or bad is up to you to decide. I'm trying to get in the frame of mind where nothing is really good or bad. It just is. Good or bad is a perspective that we place on an experience or on something. So if you're in life and you're not where you want to be, take what you can, take the salvage, the experience, the information, the lessons that you learn, and keep it moving towards something more positive, or feeling that is more positive to you, a place that will be more in line with who you are, your abilities, your talents, and your skills, Start trusting yourself, trusting the decisions that you made, because you're still alive today based on the decisions that you've made. So you haven't made all bad decisions. And, keep it moving towards something positive. Just put a positive perspective on things. You got this. You've made it this far in life. So just trust yourself, trust the decisions that you make. And if you feel that you make bad decisions, start educating yourself. Read more. Surround yourself with better people. Put yourself in better places, better positions, so that you got positive energy flowing around you, creative energy flowing around you, and you're priming your mind with the knowledge and the forethought to think of things you weren't thinking of before, and to put yourself in mental spaces and places that you weren't thinking of before. That way you can make better decisions, and you can be thinking in a futuristic mindset instead of worrying about, only living for the moment and not planning for the future. Even though being present is important and we need to be present, there's a difference in being present and enjoying your experience and living life to the fullest right now, and just living for the moment, being reckless and not thinking about your future. Those are two very different things. So some things we may commonly do that creates this disconnect, the disconnect that I was talking about between yourself and trusting yourself, your intuition, and your gut feeling. Overthinking. Trying to get all the factors, trying to get all the information, trying to think all the possibilities, every, specific detail of everything, just overthinking, that's not going to serve you. That causes you to stutter step, that causes you to pause, and then stutter stepping or pausing, you may miss your opportunity, and that may cause you to not get where you want to be, or to not be the person or experience the life that you want to experience. Number 2 is the shoulds. This is the practice of thinking about your behavior in a lens colored by the rules, preferences, and expectations that someone else has set, rather than looking inwardly and allowing your own thoughts and needs to guide your behavior. So this is basically like going off what your parents said, or your pastor said, or somebody outside of yourself, somebody externally said you should do this or you should do that. Sometimes people can give you good advice. Sometimes people's information or motivations may align with your goals, but everybody isn't for you. All the information that people give you all of the time is not always information that you need to use. We need to decipher the information that we use, decipher who it's coming from, what they're saying, how it impacts our dreams and our goals, how it aligns with what we're trying to do, what we're trying to accomplish. Spiritually, is this what we, want for our spirit, want for ourselves? Does this align with our spiritual practice? Religion wise, the factors for different individuals are different. A lot of us have the same factors, but sometimes it boils down to the individual, where your individual things that you hold dear or precious may not be the same as somebody else. So we need to take our individuality, our uniqueness, and put that into the equation about what we should be doing, instead of what everybody else tells us or following the masses. Number 3 is prejudice or unconscious biases. These are the things that, we kind of go through life and we experience, sometimes as a part of society, or, a group, a collective, maybe just being a part of many different aspects of life. It could be race, class, a whole different, it's a big encompassing subject. But prejudice and unconscious bias are something that may develop in life based on certain circumstances. And we can't let those biases or those prejudices get so deeply ingrained that they block out our intuition. When our intuition tells us something, we don't listen to it because of those biases or those prejudices. We need to educate ourselves so those biases and those prejudices don't take root, and now we can make better informed and educated decisions. And sometimes we're not going to be able to rely on all the information. Like I said earlier, we're just going to have to go with our gut feeling. But our gut feeling is clouded by bias or prejudice ideology. We need to be coming from a pure place, an unbiased place, an unrestricted, strain of thought, so that we can make the best, most clear-headed decision that doesn't have any type of skew, present when we make that decision. So number 4, a loved ones or authority figures needs, wants, opinions, or advice. This kind of goes into the shoulds, like when we get people that we respect, like our family members, our loved ones, religious authorities, government authorities, when they tell us information, we want to kind of go with that because we look up to them, we see them as somebody that we respect, that we take their word as bond, and we want to go with that. But everything is not for everybody, and that might not line with your purpose, with your goal, with your mission. So again, we need to listen to our thoughts, our pure thoughts, our untainted thoughts, our gut feeling, and just go with what's right to us, not necessarily what's right to everybody else. Number 5, when you badly want something. Sometimes when you want something so badly, it can create that bias that we're talking about, where you can't see all the negatives, or you can't necessarily hear that voice, that gut feeling, that intuition inside yourself that's telling you, hey, no, you shouldn't do that, or you shouldn't go for that, because you want it so badly. You can't hear that. You can't see the negativity, or you can't see in the future where how this is going to negatively affect you, or how it's going to be a detour off that journey that you're trying to take. Instead of a straight line, now you just kind of took a detour, and somewhere down the road you may turn around and come back to the road you're supposed to be on. But wanting something badly creates that bias. It only gives you half of the information, because you're not focused on the other half of what this may potentially cost you versus what you will gain, like a cost benefit analysis. You got to weigh it and see what it is. And number 6, previous traumas. These can be your fears, but because of stuff that happened when you were a child, negative experiences that you had while growing up, these traumas can largely influence your decisions. And these decisions, that fear that's instilled in your heart, instilled in your body, can cause you to not listen to that instinctual, that gut feeling, so it causes you to make decisions that are off track or off alignment. They miss your aim. They make you miss the point of aim. So, and that's another thing. Like when I was in the Marine Corps and we were doing rifle training, we were talking, there's a point of aim and there's a point of impact. So before you take your shot, you align your sights and you aim at the target, and you aim exactly where you want to hit. But then, because of certain mechanics that you possess in your body that may be incorrect at the time, that you can fix over time, your point of impact may be different. So your aim can be to do one thing, but because of the things that we've talked about, the trauma, the want something badly, the biases, the influence of your authoritative figure, the shoulds and stuff like that, your point of impact may be skewed because you haven't been training your intuition. So it causes you to miss your goals or miss your intention, what you were trying to do. So we need to know the difference between point of aim and point of impact, so that when we get those two to be the same, that's when we'll be on track to hit the goal that we're trying to achieve. So how do we get back in touch with our gut? It's simple. Trust yourself. Meditate, be by yourself, start being in touch with who you are, being in touch with yourself, being confident with who you are, because again, your internal environment is a reflection will reflect in your external experience. So if you feel fear all the time and indecisiveness and lack of confidence, lack of courage, that's going to reflect or manifest in your outside world. So we need to kind of get away from that stuff. We need to become more centered, become more present, become more grounded, become more focused and clear-headed, and just trust ourselves, have confidence in ourselves. We have survived 100% of the worst days of our life. So whether where you're at right now is where you want to be or not where you want to be, it's only going to be you who saves you. It's only going to be you who get you out of this valley and put you back on top of the mountain. And again, like we've talked about, it's a part of life. You can't always be on top of the mountain. Sometimes you got to spend time down in the valley, and it makes you better, because going through those low points and those difficulties prepare you for another level, for that next level in life that you wouldn't be able to attain if you had been the person before you went through that valley, you went through that hard time. So that mindset, that knowing, this hard time is only going to last but so long. Eventually I'm going to get to the mountaintop, is what's going to pull us through. And it's that intuition that lets us know that, hey, this can't last forever, or hey, if I go this way, things are going to be better, or if I go that way, things are going to be better. You're going to get to where you want to go. You're going to develop into that person that you need and want to be in order to achieve your goals and achieve success ultimately.